I went thrifting today in Snohomish. It's this old western town right off of the river. Very scenic, you know, people jumping out of planes and parachutes and cute little shops, crystals, and a very charming village. And I go into a older store. It smells of mothballs and old newspapers. The owner had collected so many amazing oddities that his shop just felt like sitting at home, admiring your collection of memories. Heavy wood furniture and a big bull bison head sat gazing around the shop. 1969 table with glass cigarette trays, tea set out on the table. You can tell that he spent most of his time taking care of the things that he had. I didn't want to go downstairs. I had an eerie feeling. I mean, it's clean, I couldn't feel many ghosts there, but I felt one in the shop. It made me antsy. Like the person that I was going to go see made me antsy. I walked around in the circle of the store looking at stuff, but then I did another loop. And my daughter kept saying, "Let's go downstairs. Let's go downstairs. Let's go." And I'm like, I don't want to go downstairs in this creepy old house. Just a creepy old shop, you know. But she kept bugging me and bugging me. And so I decided to go downstairs. It's like when I made that decision to go downstairs, I just kept watching my step going down. And I was like, if I fall, you know, you're going to have to be there to catch me. And of course, she said she would. So I'm walking down in my cowboy boots, and it feels like there's nothing there, and it's a little cold. It's a very hot day in Snohomish, Snoqualmie, ice cream time, and families walking around. But down here in this basement, it was cold. Of this store, it was cold. Not just air conditioning cold, but cold. So after I get down the stairs, I look around. I don't see as many, spirits like I normally do. So I look and go walk, and behind this pulpit, there's a man sitting in a chair, and he has his hands like this, and he's like this. And I point him out. I go, "There he is. I see one right there. I see a man right there." Everyone looks at me like I'm a little crazy, you know. My daughter's grandma looks at me and just keeps about her business like she's used to it. Angel goes, runs in the corner. The man sitting there looked like he was from 1900s, 1910, maybe, just dead wood. Uh, Cowboy days. They had on a nice looking wool jacket and a button up, black hair slicked back. And he looked at me after he's like this. And I said, there he is. He looks up at me and it's like, almost like you could see me. And then he gets up. He gets up and he walks to a pulpit. The most beautiful pulpit I've ever seen. Made of wood, pure oak, carved with different meanings like sheep and wheat, grapes. You could tell that someone sat there and crafted this high perch to sing his song to a congregation. And this ghost walks up and starts to speak on the pulpit. Table for one. In my mind, I could hear him talking about how Jesus is on his way back and that we don't have to be ghosts forever. He's preaching in this basement even after he's dead, as if someone forgot about him, like God forgot about him. But he's still perched at the top of his calling, crying in ghost form. That his faith and his foresight was seen beyond death by God. And he's preaching on this pulpit. So it was like a flash of being in a sermon, like I time traveled, sat in the pew, and he's speaking, his speak, and then when I came back into the moment of, I asked him why he was still here. I asked why he still was here. That he hadn't found himself in the folds of God. He said we don't see much. We don't see much around here, so the ghosts don't really see much. So I told him if he had a coin. He said, yeah, my collection plate, has always been full. Here's a coin. I said, okay, well, I'll get you out of here if you'd like. And if you trust me. So I grabbed my rose quartz roller and I made a door in the store down below. And I opened it. It was a bright white light, almost golden. and he went into a field, a wheat field. And I left the door open just in case he wants to come back and preach to the ghosts again. If another spirit were to find this pulpit and stand and listen, then he would be saved, that his memory would not die in a cold, damp basement. It wasn't damp, actually, it was a very nice basement. Just a very nice store. I was pretty impressed. Pretty impressed. So it shows something about the faithfulness of humanity even after demise, to believe even after death, to hold on to the love of God even in your demise. He's probably been there for hundreds of years. The patient line is not connected to the transfer set. I need freedom. Following on-screen instructions. Free. He's probably been in this basement for, I mean, since the 1900s, 1910 maybe. And his faithfulness has showed no bounds, no, like, although he was like this, he still had all of the work. He still had the prayers and the books of the Bible and the scriptures, almost as if he lived in the word. Like he found solace and commitment and drive and force after death, and lived in the scripture and used the holy wood as his way of showing a commitment even in death, to sit on that stool and get up on that pulpit over and over and over and over and over until some beautiful black goddess came and said, "Why are you still in your loop? I'll give you freedom here." Even ghosts deserve to be seen, to be heard and communicated with. But just imagine that after you die, your mission never stops. You're preaching to ghouls and goblins who attach themselves to items of significance in their lifetime. You're still faithful to God, even in your demise. year after year after year after year. Yes, there's no time in the ghost world, but in the ghost world, you have an option to get out of your loop regardless. You just have to want it. But it wasn't that he didn't want to get out of his loop, it's that he had a type of faith I've never seen before. It was beautiful to see. It was beautiful to feel the love that he had for God still in his heart after hundreds and hundreds of years without knowing proof that God exists. He had it here, burning through his soul as he. um, Leviticus 14:12. Like he's going over his playbook and he steps up to his chapel, his and he starts his preaching, and I go back into the time, and I'm sitting in his pulpit and I'm watching this man speak on God in a past tense, a story that I still have in my brain, like I was there. But it kind of like shook me, you know? That preacher, through all of his time, all of his effort, all of his life into preaching the gospel, preaching Jesus Christ's return. He spent all his life, and then he spent all his death preaching on the goodness of God, on waiting for Christ. And in his timeline, me opening up that door for him to walk into a paradise of ghosts that I've made on the upside. I kind of it kind of made me believe that maybe I might be Christ for ghosts, or maybe death. Like I might be death to banter with ghosts like it's nothing. To see his heart chakra lighting up still fire. He did not once say, "Why did God leave me here in this, attached to this pulpit?" He didn't, he wasn't complaining, like, you know, he wasn't complaining. He just was in his youth as a pastor in this basement waiting for God. He didn't doubt that God wouldn't show. He took the faith that he had and he lived in it. So much so that his heart chakra was fiery, like fiery.
I could see it beating through his wool coat. And he also had like a vest on under it and a pocket watch. He didn't look at me like oh my gosh, someone can see me. No, he looked at me like, oh, a sheep needs communication. A sheep needs to be seen. Okay. What is the word, Lord? What is the word, Lord? And this girl stood up on that pulpit. I got a picture of it on my TikTok. But he stood up on that pulpit and he preached to me in his death. And, and I've never seen such blind faith. I've never seen it like that intense. Like he knew that God was coming. He knew it. And I saw he knew it. And he didn't give up. And when I grabbed my wand, my crystal wand. I always take my roller with me. Angel was playing with it. Oh, there it is. Grab my wand. It's a rose quartz, which is my favorite. One of my favorite crystals. And I drew a door, a big door, and I put this in there and I opened it like a key lock. I opened the door. I said, "Do you have your coin? Do you have your coin?" So give me my coin. I opened that door, opened that portal in the middle of, turn the lock, and his eyes just went like fire, the same as his heart in his eyes. And he walked toward the door, you know. And he said, "Give me my coin before you go in there. You get coin." Tipped me my coin, and I shut the door. Now, he kind of sparked something in me. He kind of sparked something in me. I To have that much faith in someone, in something, to have that much faith that even in death, you were clinging to Christ and it never dimmed his heart. It normally when ghosts or people die in long timey old places, we have electro anchor points. So sometimes you
a ghost gets angry or feel that they were treated wrong or something. So it dims the electromagnetic force and eventually eats the spirit alive. So if you die with a lot of anger, if you die with a lot of sadness, if you die with a lot of fear, if you die with a lot of these feelings, sometimes when the more time goes on, the more it eats you, it becomes a black hole. Like the spirits then become black holes because all of the emotions are rotting the spirit, right? All of the unattachments are rotting the spirit. But the love of Christ, I've noticed in death, is an everlasting life. It's everlasting effervescence. You will never cave into yourself in an emotional when you are dead. You won't cave into yourself because you have faith and Jesus in your heart, right? Like he takes care of you even in your death, right? Even if you're from, 1800s, he still planted that seed in the heart of man and he is coming to collect, right? So with me ushering this spirit to the other side, well, it kind of made me feel hypocritical. It made me feel like a hypocrite, right? I say that I have so much faith and I have so much understanding, but I died and I saw that after when I died that life just continued. You know, no one was gonna sit there and talk to me and open a gate or door for me in my hospital room in my bed. I would have to do it for me. But if I do it for me, I'm gonna do it for other people, right? Like I'm a hypocrite, but I'm also I'm hope, you know? I'm hope. If I were to like lay everything down, leave this body, I know for a fact that I would find a way to be with God, to be with myself, to be in a brighter place than toiling in the darkness. Like on earth, I fought to find myself, to open doors and get out of circumstances that were horrible for me. So in death, I would do the same. Not just for me, but for other people. But the preacher helped me to see the hypocrisy of my emotions. That preacher in that pulpit helped me to see faith beyond the veil, faith beyond um, what I see and what I want. Because imagine how many other energies are out in the world stuck that have no light because they didn't fight their lifetime. In their lifetime, they did not fight to be closer to God. They didn't have a reason to. So they're lost, sheep in the field of destitute and darkness, and they don't think that there's a way out. They think that this loop that they're stuck in is it. Imagine spending eternity in an antique shop and you can't leave. It's a hell of your own creating that you've attached yourself to inanimate items and red bottoms and Louis Vuittons. And eventually it'll end up in a thrift store being sold secondhand and your soul attached to it. So I do not believe in material things will make me wealthy and happy. I don't think so. But this love that I have in my heart, I need to make sure that it burns as bright as possible. I have to make sure that it burns as bright as possible because who else is going to walk around talking to ghosts, opening doors and giving them freedom? Who else is going to do that? People are so afraid of being labeled as weird and crazy because of what other people are thinking. They're not thinking about the spirit tucked in. They're not thinking about the spirit stuck preaching in a freaking pulpit. They're not thinking about it. They're thinking about what can I buy to make myself happy temporarily. I'm talking about, I'm tired of seeing ghosts everywhere. Call me weird. Call me weird. Call me what you want, but somebody needs to sojourner truth. Find these motherfuckers in afterlife. They need some like freedom too. So if I can do it, I will. I always will. I will set free any spirit that I see trapped in vortexes. And because sometimes it's hard to get out of your own mind, right? It's hard to get out of your own mind. But imagine being dead. You don't have a therapist to walk you through how, you're only angry because your mother, didn't love you. You have to put in the work. You got to go to that preacher in the basement down 2 blocks to go sit in a ghost Bible study about Leviticus. You have to go do the work even in the afterworld. You have to be willing to search. You have to be willing to project your energy wide enough so that spirits or so that humans can wish to see you. I see through the veil clear as day. I've never had a problem seeing the dead. It's just when they see me, they start like running towards me and stuff. I'm like, I'm trying to pretend to be like them. So that they don't like, jump in me like water. But I have a very strong protective field around me because of my melanin. Depending on how the sun is vibrating, my melanin vibrates on that ray. So if a spirit gets too close, it'll burn like a vampire. But sometimes they're just so excited to see me. Sometimes they're so excited to see me that they just like run into me and I get real nauseous. I feel like I want to throw up. I'm like, oh fuck. How do I explain this to somebody? How do I tell this black girl I'm sitting next to if I fall on the ground, please help me? Like I love antique stores because I like helping the dead. But it does take a toll on my physical body. Like it does. Like on my spiritual. So it was good to go to that and see that preacher there because he gave me a word of weight, of don't give up and have tenacity. He taught me, some things are worth waiting for. And I went to, okay, so there's a wedding shop in this town in Snoqualmie. Wait, not Snoqualmie, Snohomish. There's a wedding shop, and right across the street it said Andy's Fish Shop. I was like, one, he's a Pisces. Two, his name is Andy. And then I got the cutest little baby. I told Angel, I was like, you can get one thing and and she ended up getting this. Which hold on. Let me tell you the rest. So I went to so that's one of the first coincidences that I saw in this town. So like I took a picture of the wedding dress shop right across the street from Andy's Fish House. And then we go into another place. I think they were closing down like for the day, but I we got this. OCB. He's got wigs. Look, he's so cute. He's so cute. But she saw this and she was like, I want this. And it was like $30. I was like, I want it. I want that baby. Look how cute he is. Angel goes, he looks like you, Mom. I'm like, I know. And I was like, maybe it's just like a little hosey. It's a hosey baby. That's romantic. That's hella romantic to me. Cause it's like I don't know. The signs are there, but I'm still angry over it. Not angry, but mad. I'm mad over it. But then again, I wouldn't have been able to see half of them. I saved the uh, old doctor at the hospital. He was there for a long time. You know, maybe not as long as this preacher was in the basement attached to that pulpit. It's not even the pulpit, it's a something in the store he's attached to, but he's able to move, you know, a certain amount of feet to go to attach himself to the pulpit. You know, it could be like that. It's not that old, but he finds significance and he's able to move his energy to different items, you know. So seeing that, I was like, wow. And then I saw the cutest couples. Oh my gosh. There was an Ethiopian couple with two kids. I was like, I haven't seen Ethiopians in Snohomish like ever. And they were so sweet and cute. But there was this couple, I want to post them later, but they were dressed as steampunk and the lady was dressed like kind of witchy steampunk and I was like, "Oh, that's the like they're thrifting dressed in steampunk, super cool with the hats and the mustache and you know, I was like, "Can I please take a picture of you?" Please. And they were like, "Yeah, no worries." And they bought at the same place that because they were there um at the pulpit place where the preacher was and they heard me talk about the ghost and stuff of this preacher guy. Why did I point over there? It's the open door comes to me. The bread basket, the Virgo. But the they bought lanterns, two gold lanterns at that place. And they were just walking around holding like the lanterns in this little mid in this western town. I was like, am I being watched? That it was beautiful to see love like that, you know. And then this dog came walking down the street. He just came walking, and I was like, "Howdy, sheriff." The dog comes, looks, smells me, walks away, goes, smells Carolee, walks back. It's like, yeah, that's the sheriff of this town. He's been here before. And then a real cowboy came. He had the cowboy hat and the like lapel and the like cowboy boots and stuff. I took a picture with him, but I was like, if this was like the old Deadwood town, this would be the real sheriff. And the dog, dude. So we just sat outside the ice cream shop saying hi to all the kids and saying, you know, protect the babies to the babies that walked by and just enjoyed, the day we went to a Mexican restaurant in the town. It was good because I haven't had a good tamale in a long time. They're probably like surprised, like why would you order tamales? I was like, look, don't let it be the Guatemalan tamales that they wrap it in the banana leaves and shit. I said, no, I want a corn husk masa chicken tamale with rice, beans, and a side enchilada sauce on top of it or whatever. It don't matter. This is what I want. And she came through and I was like, thank you. I love and I always leave a bite for the ghosts. I've been doing that since I was a kid. I leave a bite of ice cream for the ghost kids because there's ghost kids. Fucking sad sometimes. Sometimes I get angry. Because if I see a lot of ghost kids, uh, it angers me, and I get irritated about it and stuff. Um, there's only like I leave a bite of ice cream, but in the spirit realm, even though I left just a bite, it's way more. It's like I'm passing out ice cream to all the kids. So I sat outside of this ice cream shop in Snohomish. It's called Snow Colony Ice Cream, and there was this beautiful girl lady behind the counter. She had her hair covering things, and she was like helping us get our ice cream and stuff. And then there was another guy there. He was really cool at the front, and I like got cookies and cream ice cream. It was so good. But I leave a little bit of ice cream and then I passed it out to all the kids. And then there's some Native American spirits at the um, Mexican restaurant. So I always leave like a small amount of rice and beans, a small amount of tamale and then I take that from a spiritual standpoint and I get outside of me and I pass tamales out to the dead. And it's a spiritual way of giving back, but it's also a spiritual way of teaching myself not to be greedy and also share with those around me in spirit, you know. So I do that often. Like here, I sometimes leave the last bites for the crows, for Bobby and his wife, because sometimes I forget to feed them. So I leave extra food. It's not wasteful because it's just like a little bite. It's just a way of paying homage to spirits without having to like leave out a whole, you know, dinner plate for them, you know, because even spirits can get greedy. Even spirits can get um, you know, gluttonous. Spirits can get gluttonous, especially if you overfeed the spirits. Like, yeah, you want to make your ancestors a plate, and yeah, you want to take care of your ancestors, but you also want to understand wasting and being wasteful in spirit, because there could be a um Hogwarth is a Hogwarth spirit attached to a ghost. So whatever the ghost eats, the hog eats, and the hog jumps in and out of different people based on their base. The Hogwarts attached to um, obese people um, and make them eat by bullying their spirit into doing what they say. So I'm very careful of Hogwarts spirits, and I could tell Hogwarts spirits, and I don't allow Hogwarts spirits to attach to me. One of the best things that you could do in order to evade a Hogwarts spirit, I mean, they don't like pork. Hogwarts don't like pork, they, even though they are made of pork. At one point in time, a Hogwarts doesn't like bacon. They don't like eating their own because they know what attaching to human soul, you know. So they don't like bacon, but as you can know, a lot of people who are obese don't mind bacon.
but they don't like the crunch of the bacon. Hogwarts spirits. They don't like kale. Um, yeah, I mean, this is getting into like just consumption. When you think consumption, Hogwarts spirits are pretty easily to unattach. Um, they live in the fat of humans. Hogwarts can download themselves. It's like, okay, go to spirit. They attach to the back of your neck and they suck out your life through your food. So sometimes things don't taste the same, they taste different. Sometimes it's just the spirit stuck to the back of your neck, eating what you eat spiritually. Um, so the lesson, or not the lesson, but I um I notice spirits, and it's hard, honestly, to notice them on Earth with everyone like who staring at you and stuff. I mean, like, what was she talking to? you know. So sometimes I shy away from communication, but I'm so bright in the spirit that like they just like surround me, and sometimes I can't breathe. I get nauseous. I'm trying to escape. I'm walking out the store. Like sometimes it can be overwhelming because no one understands. But I mean, sometimes it's like going into a cemetery. Everyone's partying in a cemetery. A lot of people are still, they just built their house on their grave in spirit, you know, in case their ancestor want to come and see them. They invite them in spiritually, and like if you go to the grave, most likely you're going to, their house that they built in spirit on stilts, you know, and your spirit is visiting with them, and you're talking to a gravestone, you thinking you're sad, but in a different dimension above or on earth. You can't do that if you're sunk. If you're sunk, it's a different story. Like you have to go through the layers of hell in order to get back on solid ground. And that means dealing with your Hogwarts spirits. That means dealing with your lust, your fear, your anger, your turmoil. You got to deal with that shit. Um, but I think that's my favorite part of going thrifting is seeing all the spirits and seeing them see me and opening doors and stuff. Getting crystals. Like, if I had them, I would leave behind a crystal, like a tiny one, nothing big. And, you know, anytime a spirit comes within, 20 feet of this crystal, it'll activate and then suck that spirit into there like Ghostbusters. But it'll suck the spirit into there and it'll sort it for me. Like Willy Wonka. Remember when Willy Wonka had the things, squirrel sorting the nuts? Good nut, bad nut. That's like why I leave crystals behind um, in the store.
And then I kept seeing these really cool old fashioned cars. I saw this bright red Oldsmobile. His wife and him went to go to Andy's Fish House, right? And then he bought her some plants that were sitting in the back of the car. And it was just like this bright cherry red Oldsmobile with like, it looked like Saturn on the front. I was like, God, how beautiful is it? Just drive around on a Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, eating at fish houses and going thrifting with your husband. I was like, you got the life, girl. I love seeing women happy because every time I like walk past a happy woman and she's like giggling like a little girl or like a little happy, it gives me a little bit of hope. It gives me a little bit of hope, that like we could get this together as a unit and we could just love our women and raise our daughters to be good women. We could still act like little girls and sip fake tea at you know, a thrift store and we could just coexist with death and rise people from the dead. I mean, it's the same thing with our military people. Like if I were to go to a military, like a memorial service or something, I could probably get some soldiers out of limbo. I haven't even thought about that. Because one of the hardest things for soldiers, PTSD, getting out of your ghost form with PTSD, not even just dying of a violent death, but dying a death in youth and young or old, you know, but actively serving in protective roles when they die and they have that guilt on them of killing, you know, I don't want them to feel that. I don't want anyone to feel guilty for protecting their family, you know? So like if I could get a way to somehow open that gate from the crossroads, I can get some of the soldiers out of their PTSD states. States of consciousness of PTSD is very hard. They sent in tons of psychologists and sociologists and, some of the most brilliant minds of therapy to get them out, and they never got them out. I bet you if I go, I would get them out. I can get some of the Tuskegees, Tuskegees out of there. I mean, there's tons and tons of men and women who served overseas that probably are stuck in vortexes in Saudi Arabia or, you know, they can't cross back into the border to get into their own grave in their own home. So they're overseas in Afghanistan or Iraq and their souls are just trapped in vortexes. That could be like a saving mission I could go on, opening doors in Iraq or Iran and pulling some of them out of the okay, so there's a sandworm thing. Um, it was written about in the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's a giant snaky wormy thingy, and it's huge, and it thrives in desert climates. Well, you can't open doors in the middle of these desert climates, because if you let that worm into the door, then the wormholes. We're going to have wormholes in our galaxy. And if you have wormholes in your galaxy, you have parasite things, and it opens you up for a little bit of problems. But I've kept a good hygienic understanding of not letting those sandworms over here. However, they eat they eat dead flesh and spirit. So this is what they use to feed their worm, or their sacrifice. That's why war is over there. And there were a lot of war over there. It's a way to sacrifice and give the bones to the deity, they call it, to stop them from eating them. So start a war, the Americans will come over there and think that they're trying to rescue and save, and you could use their death and blood as the sacrifice for that worm, instead of just killing the worm. But that's a creature that is an old, ancient, spiritual creature that's been around for a long time. Um, but they they have a lot of war bones, a lot of bones from war that they feed it, and it's gotten humongous, so much so it's taken over the Middle East. It's taken over the whole Middle East. Like, it's humongous. The more you feed it, the bigger it gets. And we've fed it a lot. So I'm gonna go on a mission to save some of or a lot of the warriors who left our soil and our land to go overseas to fight and protect, I guess. So there's some vortexes that, like, I can open from here. I'll just have to will it, and it will be the way. So I think that's the main trajectory of what I wanted to say. That faith is really strong, even in death. And they believe so much so in Jesus. They believe so much so that he's real. He has to be now. Because that blinding faith solidifies a magnet and manifests in reality. To have that much faith, that blinding faith, of course Jesus is going to be real. Of course. He may not look like the way these people want, but
if I can help it, I'm not gonna let nobody stay stranded in ghost world on a loop that probably will play for the rest of until somebody comes and says, "Oh, there's a ghost." Who's gonna do that? Motherfuckers don't even believe in ghosts. But then I had a vision. I was like, I was in this hospital and I was holding a baby like this. Look like this baby. I was holding a baby and I had to give him away. I had to be like, I was holding him in the hospital like this. And Hosey was over me. He was over me and his hair was so long. And it was like brushing along my face. He was like reaching down trying to get the baby. And I was like, this is a vision? Why does it feel like a dream? And then I handed him the baby. Doop. I handed him the baby back. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, I can take some calls. Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead. What? Mhm. What can you do on Earth to assist the paranormal? You got to be hyper aware of your surroundings. Like, don't just be like, oh, this place is old. There's ghosts. No, feel it. You have to jump in your body, get cozy in your body, and feel like you got tentacles, like you're an octopus or, you know, a creature with tons of arms. Just reach out in the darkness with your tentacles and feel around. When you feel like certain spots are warm, you'll feel certain spots of cold. You'll find these hidden valleys in the darkness, and you take the light in your heart, and bring it all the way down to the tips of your fingertips. And you pass light along these valleys and these ways. It's like being blind and feeling God in His nature. You know? And then from these tentacles, you can see things differently, like like a bat sees in the dark. You can see through these long tentacles of an energy. And then once you feel, you'll see like black vibrating. And the reason that I could see the preacher is because his heart was on fire, right? And then from seeing the heart on fire, I'm able to see phantom, hear mumbles first, like I'm this, right? Like I'm I'm in a veil, a see-through veil, and I could I'm the ghost and they're in their own reality, you know? So I can hear him walking, his brown uh, shoes tapping on the hard wood. I can hear him reciting the Bible and emphasizing certain parts. Like I can hear his cadence and
His like, hold on, like he's practicing. So for you guys, it's like about stepping out of what you see and what you know and just feeling 100%. But you can't really do that if you're super sex. Because sex numbs and dulls a lot of emotions from a spiritual standpoint, right? Unless it's connected and heightened by a real connection. The real connection will make this power, these forces stronger, right? So it's about you teaming up with yourself to see beyond the world, and you're building your power up. And then when you get in your unions, the person becomes a power bank for your power. So let's just say you are a clairvoyant and you do see ghosts and you do see these around your partner. It gets stronger around your partner. Your vision becomes more, it's like having glasses. Yeah. So it's the richness of your spirit paying out in abundance and amplifying your gift, right? He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Yeah. So it just, imagining helps you to see. Okay. Anyone else? Mm-hmm. 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 We okay, hold on. There was a little girl I used to see when I was younger. I called her Cody. She used to stand in the she used to stand in the middle of the orchards where I lived in Newman, Patterson, Turlock area. It was this little girl, blonde hair, and she had a white dress. She used to just stand in these rows and rows of orchards. And I would always point her out and say, Cody, Cody, stop that, Cody, Cody, you know. And people are like, oh, you got that from a movie. Oh, you saw it on, a movie or something like that. No, but I really saw her. I used to say, I think something really bad happened out here. Like I used to say that when I was a young girl. And I said, something bad happened. Something bad. And so every time we're driving through Turlock, going to the movie theaters in Turlock from Newman, or, going from Modesto to back to Newman or Patterson, I would look out in the dark at the rows and see if I see her during the night. I know when I see her during the day, like I got it, but I wanted to see if she existed during the night while everybody else is asleep in the car and we're on our way home and my aunt's driving, listening to her gospel. Does Cody exist when I'm by myself? Right? And she did. The little girl showed up in the rows of orchards, even at night. would see her at night. And when when I thought about the story, what happens is my third eye, something comes out of it. Something comes out of this third eye. It's like a tentacle, like a long tentacle, and it goes and it went to hers, and I was able to see the light. I could see her story. I could see her life. I could see her running, and the heartbeat. I could feel her heartbeat. I could hear someone running after her. I could hear these things, and it scared me when I was a little kid because I'm like, why am I thinking this way? You know, and I would go like this, like get it out of here. Like I don't want to see this. But I started writing the stories, right? And changing the stories of these things. So, for example, she ran into the forest and then they got her. But instead of being taken in my version, she turned into the child of one of the attackers and then he went crazy. So I wrote this story and, I took it with me. I told the story to some people, and they're like, oh, I think I saw that on a movie once. It was, a little girl was walking down the road and but I'm like, okay, why is this happening so much? So, you know, so the tentacle thing that I talked about has has happened a lot since I was a kid. The tentacle that comes out of my third eye and it goes into the other person's third eye. It's almost like a mechanic fixing the engine of a machine. Like sometimes I don't look at people in the eye too much. Sometimes I'm like trying to work through the like pineal access and turn on the switch and oh, but there's a problem with anger, there's a problem with need, there's a problem. So my stories reflect what that person is needing to sort through so that the light could turn on, right? Sometimes it takes people forever. Sometimes they don't believe. So it can't work. Like the tentacle can only work, honestly, if you have a childlike heart. Because then the light here can light here, right? So Cody was one of my first invitations into the dark world of ghosts. But also, I used to live in Oakland, California, on the hill right next to some llamas. And the amount of spirits that were in Oakland, California, wild. I thought it was the whole town was a cemetery or a ghost town. The whole fucking town. I was like surprised. I was like, is this on a mound or something? Because there's a lot of dead here. There's a lot of dead in Oakland. And they used to come to my house and they used to like torture me type stuff. Like I would be sitting under the table, covering my ears and my eyes, talking about I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Like literal hyperventilating, and they would bang on the table, bang on the table, and try to get me up from under there. You know, and I mean, I've seen animals, ghosts, dogs. You know, a lot of animals when they die, they come to me.
And they want to be born as children, you know? They want to be born as, like, can you put me back in my family? And I'm like, well, you're going to have to get in line, get in line. But they know that if they, do a certain amount of healing, they can be a kid. Like, they are, I don't know how to explain it. They're healers. Animals are healers. Cats, dogs, birds, chickens. They heal. From the pets, from the love, from the loyalty. They get bonuses in spirit to become what they want in the next lifetime because they're emotional healing animals. hmm I mean, certain towns like like Snohomish, Snohomish get bad reps because we do understand that there's a large array of white supremacists who want to preserve the whiteness of the area. And I look, I even save white supremacists. I do. Yeah, I do. They look at me and they hate me. But when they're dead and I have to sit there and have a lesson with them, like one time I went to, I forgot where it was. I was watching American History X again with Edward Norton, great actor. He's really good. But I was watching that movie and I found myself in a flag. Like I jumped into a flag. So I get into this flag and I got all this dark coming towards me. Like just tons and tons of black, black, black spirit. Almost like they're dumping black into the flag, like dumping it in. So I'm like in this flag, and there's a bunch of guys in this, like almost Valhalla type death scene. Like it's a brigade in this flag. I'm talking skinheads and racist weirdos and all this kind of stuff. I'm talking, they're like sitting there, like, oh, what did I do? Oh, they're just like panicking in this flag. And so, like, I'm in there, and I like turn on my light, and they're all like, oh, like, 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 I just opened up. I just opened up the blinds you know, after they've been trapped in this place for forever. So I was like, okay, guys, I'm gonna start giving you a speech. And so they all sat down like they were little boys, little kids, little girls. They all sat down. And I was like, look, the reason you're stuck in this flag, the reason you're stuck in this flag is because the way you're thinking. I am your mom. I'm your mom. I'm your mother. And then I said, why would you hate me when I'm the only one that could get you out of this? Why are you hating your brother and your sister when I'm their mom too? I was like, you guys are your misconceptions about race and this is wrong. Like you're wrong. Because I love you. Even if you hate me, I love you and I don't want you to stay in this flag. Like I want you to come with me. But you have to work out your stuff. So I'm gonna work you I'm gonna um
walk you guys through some things, and then we're gonna do a test. And those who pass the test, they can come out of the flag. Those who are still stuck in that bullshit anger of blackness and whiteness and Mexicanness, you'll stay in this flag, right? So I make all of them, because when they get into the flag, they they do this thing where they're kids, but then they become their adult self really quick. So they're kids, you know, but then the anger flashes them into the big self. So they become the adult version of themselves without warning. It's like being glitchy. They're glitching in and out of youth and adulthood, and they can't figure out how to make it stop. Let me get my baby. So they can't figure out how to make it stop. So I sit down with them and I'm like, okay, everybody, because it's again, it's this black void. It's like everything is made of goo, like black goo, and it's sticky, right? So they're in the flag, and I'm like, look, we got to clean this up now, guys. You got to start cleaning up. So I sit down and I tell them a story, right? And then I ask them, what do you think of this story? And then they go into these kid like giggles and like kid like phases and stuff. And I'm like, but do you see what you're missing out on? Being with mommy and daddy. Mommy, mommy in her physical vessel is this color, dark color. But daddy in his physical vessel is white color. But we still love each other, right? And like I have to like retrain them and reteach them. So then I open the door to get out of the flag for some. And then I close the door. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be back in a hundred years. You guys are gonna stay in this flag until I come back. I'm gonna get another test. If you guys pass the test, you can come out of this, right? So so if you pledge a cause of bigotry, your grave is not gonna be in the ground. Your grave is not gonna be in an urn. Your grave is gonna be in a flag, because that's you pledging your loyalty to racism. You're pledging your loyalty to white supremacy. So in white supremacy, you have to understand that it is a black void world, right? So you go back to this black and white goo, and in that flag, there's an eagle watching you to see how you're moving in black and white. To say, okay, well, he learned his lesson, he can come out now. She learned her lesson, she can come out, right? So I can go into flags, but I don't like to go into flags without, I don't know, without like, I just don't want my kids to be hateful idiots. And I don't want to leave them stuck in that place and their kids and then they're adults. I think that's hell in a sense. I mean, yeah, they brought it upon themselves with being racist and, you know, KKK clans members and stuff, but some of them were good kids. They were really good kids. And they're stuck in almost like a prison of their own ignorance. And they're thinking that they're, protecting the white agenda of, whatever through genocide. But in actuality, they're finding themselves in a really fucked up place after they die. And I still want to give them chances, even though our
Our Father is like, our Father is like, oh no, if they hate their mother, if they hate their mother, they don't deserve a second chance. Like, our Father is telling me, like, if they hate if they hate you because of your color, even though you birthed them, they're ungrateful. And you can't put gratitude back in you know, a pot already full with boiling water. And I think that's where we kind of differ, me and my husband. Well, soon to be ex-husband. Soon to be ex-husband. Still hurts. I love Andy more than you guys love Andy. I put the bottom of your guys' foot his name so that he can find you guys one day as toys and bring them home and give me gifts. But we're not the same anymore. It's not the same. Um, but like he differs in the like instance of if you hate your mother, I don't think you deserve to be forgiven. You know, I think you should just take your punishment. But I think that yes, people who have bigoted beliefs are wrong, but they were just raised by idiots, right? Like, imagine if they were raised by me and they felt the love and the like patience and kindness that I exude sometimes, even in my weakness. You know, I know how to apologize very quickly to my children when I'm wrong. Um, so I understand being raised by hateful idiots. Like, I get it. And I don't think that we should have to, like, I don't think that we should, like, leave them behind sometimes. Because I feel like that's just taught behavior. If you unteach it, that it could change. But he's proven me wrong quite a bit. He's proven me wrong about how deep racism goes in genes and genetics. Like, how deep it's taught in the reality that we just left. So I don't like going into like the white supremacist flags, but when I do go, I do teach lessons and then I come out. I close the door, but I think he's gonna start burning that flag, and I think that could lead to a I don't know, some sort of like something over there in the UK, something, um, because he's like, if you hate your mother, you can't be here. So I I I had that talk with the kids a while back about I didn't teach them, to be racist and harming your brother and stuff. I taught that lesson in the dark, so I was hoping that they'd listen, but we don't. So I choose not to carry too many flags with me or like pledge allegiance to flags and stuff because sometimes the ideology of the curriculum or the like customs that is taught by that nation I don't agree with. So one thing I do is I get the colors of a flag and I start to draw the flag, and then I open the flag up and I see the wounds of the nation and I try to heal them. Like I tried to heal it with Ireland one time and it didn't end up good. I tried to heal the wounds of Ireland, and only thing that came out with this black smoke. There wasn't blood. It wasn't like when I did the flag, the orange and the yellow, or the orange and the white and the green. And I did the flag and I was painting the colors and I was trying to get beyond. And the only thing that came up with this black smoke. So I can heal certain parts of nations through their flag. So I might do something. I did the American flag and that turned out really scary because there was a lot of blood coming out of that flag. Almost pustulous and sores, and the blood was thick. It was bad. Um, but when I look through the like art of the flag, you know, I can pull out the like bodies. I can pull out bodies from art. Just drawing a flag. I can pull out bodies. Um, like if you get a folded flag, from when your person comes back from war, I could touch that flag, pull that body from that one flag, and then put him put that person into their grave or put them into your home, put them into crystals. Like if I put one into the crystals, like I put someone's soul into a crystal, I could sew it into a doll and it'll start walking as another person in the universe. All right, any other questions before I go to bed? I'm really tired. Ouch. Mhm. See, have I ever got scared? Like honestly, when I got older, I went into an apartment once, uh, in Seattle.
I went into this apartment. I almost threw up. Not because of the smell or anything. It was clean. But you could tell something really was off, and it felt like sorry, I'm pulling my hair out. It was so uh, I could tell that something really bad happened. And I started to do the tentacle thing again, bringing it out. And something told me, don't look. And I look all the time, because that's like kind of my job to clean out the spiritual realm and clean out the closets and bleach you know, bleach the area and walk anybody out who needs to be. But it was a lot of a lot. And it was like, and I could feel and hear the crying and all that kind of stuff. I had to run out there and I threw up. I ran out of that apartment building and I threw up. And that was one of the worst experiences I've had from a paranormal experience. And I think I blocked it out and don't even remember what apartment that was, but I know when my spirit tells me not to look, that it was bad and it needs to just process it. It doesn't want to traumatize you know, my taste buds or my tentacles can be sensitive to certain tastes in the air. So, um, yeah. hmm Well, I've never been to the East Coast. Besides, I went for my friend Amber's wedding. She had it in Pennsylvania, but it was like a very dense area. I had a couple experiences in Texas on a hanging tree. These friends of mine invited me to their lake cabin, and I got a picture of a little boy hanging on the tree in Texas, and I saw it, and I still stood underneath that branch and took a picture with them. And I think they knew, you know, that it was a hanging tree. But I scared them because I took a picture with my camera and it came out and you could see the little boy's face and they got scared. They all got freaked out because I pointed out that I could see his face. I like zoomed in on my laptop and I could see the little boy's face, and then they all freaked out. And they were like, "Oh, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real." I was like, "Yeah, it is. I have proof right here." But I stopped hanging out with them then because I was like, one, they told everybody that I was a weird. That was weird. And then two, they took me to a hanging tree. I was the only black person there, but they took me to the hanging tree. And I was like, deep down, I think they knew what they were doing. You know, I'm pretty sure they knew what they were doing. um, but by seeing that ghost boy, they got freaked out. And kind of made me feel good. Kind of helped me feel better about my abilities because I had proof. But the next day, the dang on, it was gone. The next day when we went to zoom in, the little boy was gone. It was only that night that they all saw it because I zoomed in hella close. And I showed them, I was like, that looks like a little boy, don't it? They're like, "Yeah." And then she called her dad and she's like, Dad. He gonna get you in your sleep. They freaked out. They didn't talk to me after that. I remember her name was Alyssa something. Alyssa. I used to call her Lissy doll after the doll on Matilda. I used to call her Lissy doll all the time because she looked like a little doll. She had the long hair. Yeah, Lissy doll. Alyssa. I don't remember her last name. Yeah. Shouldn't have taken me to the hanging tree. Low key. Low key. Low key. Sure. Took the picture at night too. It was blurry, the first one, but the second one was like perfect. I was like, thank you to the ghost boy. I think I named him like Damien or Darnell. But that was a real life incident that happened with ghosts. hmm Have I ever been to a haunted restaurant? Yeah. Oh yeah, I have. There's one here in like one here in Kirkland that I used to go to. Um, this George's restaurant was haunted. I don't think it's so anymore, but George used to be standing at the front door by his picture, waiting. It's like he's in time, waiting to see who would come and say hi to him, who's coming to eat. Yeah, it was for the longest time when the old uh, owner was there. But now with this new owners, I don't see George anymore. I don't see him in the kitchen. I don't see him as much as I used to. But George was always there. Yeah. That's why I used to go there so much, just to like talk to his spirit because he used to give me advice and talk to me like in time. I cried a couple times at George's because the food was so good. Like it's just dining food, but like he cooked with care. Like he really did care. I used to love George's. And then whatever they switched chefs or something, it just wasn't the same. Like there's some Hispanic men who are such good channelers or women. They channel the spirit of the person in the kitchen
and they basically let their energy, their form, you know, they allow the spirit and don't be afraid of the spirit to come to them and teach them things in the kitchen. And so that's where the soul comes from. It comes from the souls adding to the pot, the souls adding their 2 cents into the kitchen. So there's a few restaurants um, that I hear around New Orleans that have um, women still cooking from, 1800s, still cooking in that same kitchen. No matter how many chefs change the roles, they're still there and you can't move them. They are like embedded in the design of the layout of the land. They're in that kitchen no matter what. There could be, the most famous chef in the world, but if he's not connected to the earth, not connected to the spirit of the fire in the kitchen, he's not worth shit. He's just playing around pretending, you know? So that's a good question about a ghost spirit. Anyone else? What is the most strongest ghost that you ran into? There's this kid named um Rain, or not Rain, it's Joaquin Phoenix's brother, River Phoenix. He's like the Lost Boys. Like, he's like Peter Pan in Never Never Land. He was the one that got all of the like kids together in Hollywood, because Hollywood was actually just another um and used their so he became an activist in the underworld to try to get lost boys and lost girls a spiritual um place to be safe in Hollywood, because there's a lot of ghost energies in California, in Hollywood, all seeking a false light, you know. Um, but River Phoenix became a like a like Peter Pan type in the realm, and he got really powerful with the kids. Like, if you ever got lost and didn't make it back, he would send one of the like lost boys to get you out of the morgue before the soul sweeper came. So soul sweepers are the gorgers our of our darkness, right? They gorge themselves on our darkness and they get off trying to, anyway, just they're gorgers is what all I want to tell you. So River Phoenix is a pretty powerful figure in death. So is Pac. Pac has mansions and mansions. I don't think he's dead, but I think that People follow his light. They follow his light and then find themselves in his lyrics. And then he rebirths them in word through Mary. Hail Marys, come with me. Hail Mary, nigga, run quick, see. What do we have here now? Do you want to ride or die? Na, 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 na. So, yeah, I mean, he's pretty powerful, but as a kid, to stay a kid, River Phoenix is pretty powerful in spirit. Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How do you know if someone's stuck? Well, lights flickering is one. Someone's stuck in the in between. Lights flickering, cold areas. Like those are pretty normal. Um, you might see an abundance of like ants, beetles, um, just again the tentacle thing, because after the body goes, the spirit imprint still stays. Like the spiritual layout of the foundation of the person is still there until it's clean, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, oh. So the question, the que- okay, so the question that these spirits are posing, that you guys are posing, is how, okay, to do a mass prayer. I mean, if we could do a huge visual or a huge prayer for like those who died, like, like Michael Jackson, he died in the line of duty. But to you guys, it's not a military thing, but to me it is. Prince died in the line of duty. Whitney Houston died in the line of duty. There's a lot of people were up front. Pop died in the line of duty. Their duty was, and their battle was, to get you guys out of the old consciousness and get you into the new consciousness. How did they do it? Through music, through art, through fighting against the status quo in the music industries. Because music can keep you trapped in someone's consciousness, the United States consciousness. Yeah, they say music is a spell. It is.